Can I see your sandals?
My what?
Your shoes? There appears to be blood there.
Just before midnight, a familiar face knocked on the apartment door. By sunrise, one was dead, and the other had survived a wound that stopped 1 millimeter short of killing her. But all investigators were trying to answer was one question. Why had someone with no history of violence suddenly carried out such a brutal attack? The night of March 21st, 2025, didn't begin with an argument or a break-in. It was just another quiet evening in Champaign, Illinois, where 22-year-olds Nathan Gudeman and Caitlin Lassie were spending time together inside their apartment. Outside, however, someone had been pacing around. He wasn't hiding or trying to force his way in. And even if anyone had looked out the window, they probably wouldn't have thought much of it. After all, the man outside wasn't a stranger. Caitlin recognized him almost immediately. He was dating her cousin, someone she'd met before.
Okay, so why don't you talk to us about where were you tonight in terms of you were with your girlfriend, you live with her, is that right?
We live together.
Okay, so tell me about your relationship with her.
How do you mean?
You guys just moved here, or how long have you been dating, all of that?
We've been dating for 3 years next month.
Okay.
We moved here a month ago.
Okay. Where did you move here from?
Florida, Orlando.
Okay. What brought you to Illinois and specifically the Champaign area?
Cost of living was getting very high.
Sure.
So, it's right in the middle of Orlando, so things were getting very high. There weren't a lot of jobs available.
Okay.
And too much traffic. I didn't really enjoy that. I've been hit like 5 times, so.
Oh, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys have any connection to here, like family, friends, or did you just randomly pick it here?
She has family here. I liked it when we came over for Christmas.
Okay.
It's quiet, small town, but still like a city. And we drove around a bit. I was like, this is cool. If we want to move, we should move here.
Okay. So you moved here about a month ago?
A month ago.
And just you and your girlfriend together?
Yes.
And what's her name again?
Kalani.
Okay. Where did you move to exactly?
Rental.
Okay. What's your address there?
729 Willow Pond Road.
Okay. Have you lived anywhere else while you've been in Illinois, or that's the first place that you
My
guys?
first place.
Okay. Did you stay anywhere in between Florida and moving here, transitionally or
hotels.
anything? Okay.
But that was during the drive, so we drove 16 hours. We stopped halfway.
It's a long time. Did you haul all your stuff, or did you have somebody move it for you?
Nah, there was nothing worth. It would cost like $3-4 grand to haul everything. The only thing that was worth even $1 grand was my piano, and we couldn't take everything.
When he knocked on the door, his explanation sounded perfectly reasonable. He said he was looking for his girlfriend and wondered if Caitlin had seen her. There was nothing about the conversation that suggested some kind of danger, and there was definitely no obvious reason to turn him away.
So why don't you kind of walk me through what you were doing today and what brought us here?
I don't quite know what brought us here, but I work night shifts, so I got off 6:30 a.m., got home at 7. I stayed up until 12 talking to my best friend, and when he went to work, I went to bed. I woke up at 8, started getting ready, went to church, came back home, hung out with my girlfriend, realized I didn't have my wallet, so I went back to church, got it, came back.
Okay. So, what friend were you talking to all day? Is that somebody to play video games with, or somebody?
Yeah.
Okay.
My best friend. I've known him since like freshman in high school.
Okay. And where's he at?
He's in
Is he-
Orlando.
Okay.
I don't know anybody here.
Yeah, I thought you said you hadn't made any friends here
No,
yet, so that's gotta be
he's-
hard to.
Yeah.
So Caitlin did what many people would have done in the same situation. She invited him inside. It was an ordinary act of kindness, but one that, within minutes, would become the decision that changed 2 lives forever. And for a few brief moments, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The moment Caitlin turned away, she expected nothing more than a routine exchange between 2 people who knew each other. But when she looked back, Nathan was on the floor, and standing over him was Alex, with a knife in his hand. There had been no argument, nothing. Whatever had happened had unfolded in seconds, so quickly that by the time Caitlin realized everything, Nathan had already been stabbed multiple times, and the attack was already beyond stopping. Then Alex turned towards her. Without a word, he rushed forward. Instinctively, Caitlin threw up her hand to protect herself,
but the knife slashed through it before she could move away. Another strike landed in her abdomen, forcing her backward. Then she felt another blow to the back of her neck. There was no warning and no time to understand why. Only moments earlier, the apartment had felt completely safe, and now it had become a desperate fight for her survival. But what she didn't know was that the nightmare unfolding inside the apartment was about to spill out into the street, and before the night was over, one of them would never make it home. By now, there was no longer any doubt about what was happening. The man attacking them was 24-year-old Alex Mwanambuta, someone Caitlin had recognized the moment she opened the door. Just minutes earlier, he was asking a simple question. Now, he was armed with a knife. Realizing she couldn't fight back, Caitlin made a decision that many survivors later describe as instinct rather than strategy. She stopped resisting. She lay completely still. She hoped Alex would believe she was already dead. For a brief moment, it seemed as though it might work. But then he came back. Instead of walking away, Alex grabbed Caitlin by the hair and pulled her upright. Before she had a chance to react, he slashed her throat. The message was terrifyingly clear. Simply surviving the initial attack wasn't enough. When Alex had entered the apartment that night, he appeared determined to make sure there would be no witnesses left behind. Somehow, amid the chaos, Nathan was still alive. Despite suffering devastating injuries, he managed to get back on his feet and stagger toward the apartment door. Every step took enormous effort, but he knew staying inside meant almost certain death. He wasn't running away. He was running toward the only thing that still offered a chance of survival: help. Nathan somehow made it out of the apartment. Seriously wounded and losing blood with every step, he stumbled into the quiet residential street, desperately trying to put distance between himself and the man chasing him. It was just before midnight, so the neighborhood was still, and for a brief moment, it almost seemed as though he might make it. But Alex wasn't finished. He sprinted after Nathan, closing the gap as the injured 22-year-old struggled to stay on his feet. The chase didn't last long. Nathan had already lost too much blood, and his body simply couldn't keep going. When Alex caught him, the violence continued. According to prosecutors, Alex cut Nathan's throat, severing major arteries. Despite making it out of the apartment and fighting until the very end, Nathan collapsed in the middle of the street. He passed away where he fell. And for a brief moment, everything was quiet again. But although the attack was over, the truth about Nathan's final moments hadn't disappeared into the darkness. The only reason investigators were able to reconstruct those last terrifying seconds was because someone had been watching. Not from another house, not from the sidewalk, but through the lens of a nearby Ring doorbell camera, which captured part of the chase and would later become one of the prosecution's most compelling pieces of evidence. While Nathan's injuries proved fatal, Caitlin was still clinging to life. Emergency responders rushed her to the hospital, where trauma surgeons quickly realized the extent of her injuries. She had suffered wounds to her neck, spine, and liver, which were injuries so severe that every passing minute mattered. What had happened inside that apartment had pushed her to the very edge of survival. Then came the discovery that stunned even the medical team. The knife had missed Caitlin's carotid artery by just 1 millimeter. Had the blade traveled even slightly farther, doctors testified that she almost certainly wouldn't have survived. She underwent emergency surgery, and against overwhelming odds, she pulled through. The judge who later presided over the case would describe her survival as nothing short of a medical miracle. But Caitlin's survival meant far more than just defying the odds. It meant that the person responsible hadn't succeeded in silencing the only witness who had seen the attack from beginning to end. When investigators began asking questions, Caitlin didn't hesitate. She told them exactly who had attacked her. And from that moment forward, the investigation was no longer about finding an unknown killer. It was about proving what she already knew. When the first officer arrived at the scene, investigators were facing a brutal attack with one major question: who was responsible? But before detectives had gathered the evidence, before they had analyzed footage or traced movements, they already had something incredibly important: a survivor. Despite everything Caitlin had endured, she was able to tell the first responding officer exactly who had attacked her. It was Alex, and she didn't identify him only once. At the hospital, while still recovering from life-threatening injuries, Caitlin gave the same name again. Months later, when she took the stand in court, her account never changed. Alex Mwanambuta. The same person she had recognized at the apartment door was the person she said had attacked her. But investigators knew a conviction couldn't rest on testimony alone. They needed evidence. And slowly, piece by piece, they began building a case. A Ring doorbell camera captured footage showing Nathan being chased by a man matching Alex's description. GPS data placed Alex's vehicle just a block away from the apartment around the time of the attack. Then came the forensic evidence. Blood found inside Alex's vehicle was linked to Nathan. Blood was also discovered on Alex's shoes, and investigators found that the pattern on his footwear matched a bloody shoe print recovered near where Nathan was found. Every new discovery pointed in the same direction. And as the evidence continued to close in, Alex's explanation for what happened that night began to change. As the evidence continued to build, investigators turned their attention to one more thing: Alex's own explanation of what had happened. And at first, his story was simple. He said that he was never even at the apartment. According to Alex, he had nothing to do with the attack and had never been inside the area where Nathan and Caitlin were found. But the problem with denying something completely is that the evidence only needs to prove one thing wrong. And investigators soon had evidence placing him there: the footage, the GPS data, and the blood. The more evidence surfaced, the harder his explanation became to believe. So the story changed. This time, Alex claimed he hadn't attacked anyone. Instead, he said he had gotten lost, went to the apartment looking for directions, and accidentally discovered the aftermath of the crime. According to this version, he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. But prosecutors argued the explanation didn't match the evidence surrounding him. Why was his vehicle nearby? Why was Nathan's blood found on his shoes? And why did his footwear match evidence recovered at the scene? During the trial, the judge described Alex's explanation as being too perfect to be real, because every new detail seemed designed to explain away the latest piece of evidence against him. Every new explanation solved one problem, but created three more. But as investigators looked deeper into what happened that night, another major question remained. Why? The violence had been sudden and extreme, but prosecutors argued it may not have been completely random. According to the prosecution's theory, Alex had become increasingly possessive of his relationship and believed Caitlin was a negative influence on his girlfriend. They argued that his anger toward her had been building before the attack ever happened. And hours before the violence began, investigators discovered a detail they believed was significant. Alex had watched dashcam footage that showed conversations between Caitlin and his girlfriend about possible issues in their relationship. To prosecutors, this suggested that Caitlin had become a focus of his resentment, but perhaps the most suspicious detail came from Alex's movements that night. Investigators found that he had left his phone at a mosque before the attack.
And then, do you come straight home from mosque?
Yes, I was straight home.
Okay, do you know about what time you got home?
I don't know what time I got home, but I know by the time she was on the phone, I went into the kitchen. It was like 12:50, I want to say.
Well, what time the first time? You said you went there.
First time I left home at 8:30.
Right, so you left home at 8:30.
Not
Is
very
mosque about an hour? Is that
No,
accurate?
it's 30 minutes away.
30 minutes,
Yeah.
okay.
It
So
was
it's
at 9.
so it started at 9 and ended at what time?
It ended, it ends in 15 minutes. It was supposed to be 45, but I was only there for 15 minutes. I didn't have to do like optional prayers. So
Okay,
I-
so you were done with mosque by 9:15?
Yeah.
And then you went straight home
And I
from
went straight home.
there, okay. And so then you're home, what's Alana doing? So you guys just hang out for a little bit, you play video games, what
No,
do you do?
no, we were just in the room talking.
Okay. How long would you estimate you had been home before you realized you forgot your wallet?
I couldn't really put a time on it, but I was home for a while.
Okay, so is it fair to say you were home for more than 5 minutes, but you weren't home for hours? Is that?
Maybe like an hour, but not
Okay.
hours. Yeah, because
Okay.
we did talk for a while.
So so you left from home
Yes.
and you went where?
To the mosque.
You went straight to the mosque from home?
Yes.
Okay. Was somebody still there?
There were some people coming in, but the mosque is open 24/7.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there were people coming and going.
Okay.
Prosecutors argued This was an intentional attempt to prevent his location from being tracked and to create distance between himself and the crime scene. If that was true, it raised a disturbing possibility. Was this really a sudden moment of anger? Or had Alex taken steps beforehand because he knew exactly what he planned to do?
And the answer to that question would become one of the biggest points of debate during the trial. When Alex Mwanambuta finally faced a jury, the defense focused on one central argument. Alex had no previous criminal history. They described him as someone who had never been violent before and argued that the person accused of this crime did not match the person they knew. But prosecutors argued that the evidence told a very different story. The jury heard Caitlin's testimony, the account of the woman who survived an attack doctors called a miracle. They saw the ring camera footage, examined the GPS data, reviewed the forensic evidence connecting Alex to Nathan, and heard about the bloody footprint and the statements that changed as evidence emerged. After considering everything presented during the bench trial, they reached their decision. On November 20th, 2025, Alex was found guilty on all 7 counts, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and aggravated battery. The judge later determined that the attack involved exceptionally brutal or heinous behavior indicative of wanton cruelty. Alex was sentenced to 100 years on January 21st, 2026. Nathan never made it home that night, and Caitlin almost didn't either. But against impossible odds, she survived.
The emotional effects are just more so like the loss of Nathan. Losing him was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And you never expect to be a widow at 23.
And by surviving, she became something no piece of forensic evidence could ever replace. She was the person who could look at the man responsible and tell the world exactly what happened. But what do you think? Would the evidence alone have been enough to secure a conviction? Or was Caitlin's survival the one thing that turned a strong case into an undeniable one? Share your thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next one.